This episode of Capes and Lunatics is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. Get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
Me hearties, and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. I'm your captain, Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me as always is my skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
And again, joining us this week, another special guest. No relation to last week's special guest, I assume, because that was some random guy, and this is Some Stormtrooper. Hello, Some Stormtrooper.
Hello.
Welcome back. So tonight's episode, let me get that up here. Chapter 10, The Passenger. Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 2. The Mandalorian must ferry a passenger with precious cargo on a risky journey. Of course, we have here Jon Favreau, who is our writer and creator, along with George Lucas, who gets our Based on Star Wars by. And then, of course, Peyton Reed is our director of this episode.
Favreau directed the last one himself?
Yes, I believe so. I believe he did. I believe so. I could be wrong, but I don't remember seeing anyone else's name on it. I can go back and check in a minute. By the way, Misty Rosas is the frog lady. So, if you were wondering, that's who that was. Was Zero in this? Richard Ayoade? Huh, interesting. I don't remember Zero being in this.
Who's Zero?
That was the what's it called? The droid when they broke into the prison was Zero. So he's credited on this episode. I don't know why. Yeah, Jon Favreau was the director in the last episode as well. So I did double check that, make sure I'm not jumping over things. Okay, so this episode, after the events of last episode, we see Mando speeding back to Mos Eisley with the armor in hand, as well as a bunch of
dragon meat.
Yes, with crate dragon meat and the whole things. And then we see a group of basically bandits who I don't even think know who they're trying to stop. They're just clearly bandits on the side by the side of the road out to waylay travelers. And I'm watching them set it up, where they're he's on the speeder bike, they're setting down the rope, they're going to pull the rope. I know what's going to happen. I've seen this in a dozen movies.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm trying to think, okay, but Mando's not going to fall for this, right? He's going to have the senses of a Mandalorian and know what they're about to try, right? No. Smashes the speeder bike, throws the Mandalorian, throws Baby Yoda.
I know.
A little, that damages because it damages his. I think this is the last time we see the little floaty box for him, because he gets thrown. He gets thrown hard, and
although I imagine since he weighs so little, it doesn't mean as much, relatively speaking. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, well, clearly he doesn't seem too damaged, but he gets thrown hard, and it's nuts. And it's these guys they go to attack the Mandalorian. He dispatches them all quickly. The one who's smart grabs the baby and wants to trade the baby for something. Says, I'll give you whatever you want.
A hostage situation.
Yes, it was a hostage situation.
But he asked for the jetpack. But he wasn't too smart, and then the Mando went beep boop boop. Ah!
Yeah. Once again, it's Mando honoring the letter of the deal, not necessarily the deal. Because, why should he honor the deal to the spirit if the person if he's forced to enter into the deal? Much like in the previous episode, which says, I promise you won't die by my hand, but I'm going to shoot out the lights and let the crazy...
Also, it's like I don't negotiate with terrorists. You're a terrorist. I don't negotiate with terrorists, but I don't have to be honest about that, right? I can pretend to negotiate with terrorists. That's still not negotiating with terrorists, so,
Yes. And just out of curiosity, did you see the episode that dropped today yet?
Not yet.
Okay, yes. That same theme gets repeated.
Ah.
Yes, but it's very well how it plays out. And in this one, the guy gets a jetpack, and then, it's like, yeah, you asked for my jetpack. I gave you my jetpack. By the way, you don't know how to use a jetpack, and I have the remote control for the jetpack, and I'm just going to shoot you into space and drop you down. Yeah. So... he may have survived, and that's a lesson learned, or he died horribly, and that's also a lesson learned. He goes back, he sees Amy Sedaris' character, who talks him into covering the bet for Dr. Mandibles, which makes me immediately wonder, is he actually a doctor?
I doubt.
He could have done the Doctor Doom treatment where he just took over a place and made himself a doctor.
That's possible, but just don't be speciesist. An insect could be a doctor. Look at Dr. Zoidberg. He's one of the most learned doctors in the galaxy. He only has problems with humans. Unfortunately, he moved to a planet that is mostly humans. But that's how it goes sometimes. So Dr. Mandible says he can connect you with someone who knows where Mandalorians are. And we get a whole back and forth because, of course, she's excited to have the crate dragon meat as long as it doesn't have maggots. She hates maggots, Because who likes maggots in their meat? It's
also,
never
Timon and Pumbaa, that's the only ones I can think of.
Yes.
Also, apparently maggots do exist in the Star Wars universe.
Well, that could just be their term for a larval stage of some other fly. Yeah, because it's like, flies exist, maggots exist, but that doesn't necessarily...
But they add extra protein.
This is true, too, although they also leave waste products behind, too, so...
Ew. Extra protein still.
There you go.
So the lesson being, if you find, like, a dead animal and maggots all over it, don't eat the animal, but maybe you could get away with eating the maggots to survive?
Actually, the maggots would be fine, yeah. And really, if you clean and cook the animal well enough, you can probably eat the stuff with the maggots on it. Just, like, cut deeper into it and that kind of stuff. But, yeah, but definitely you could eat the maggots.
I guess so.
The maggots aren't going to kill you.
Because I was just thinking to myself, I probably wouldn't do that, but then I was like, yeah, I probably definitely would.
Wait, how did this turn to a thing about Mandalorians and then turned into...
that's the one thing you'll get to learn about this show is we try to pay homage to the questions the Mandalorian asks us to ask ourselves.
Exactly. That's why you're my first mate, Mozz. Anyway, so basically what it is there is a person who says... Her husband says, which is also like weird kind of game of telephone here, where it's like, yeah, I need transit to this planet, and there are Mandalorians there. I just need you to take me there, and we can't go into which honestly, I guess it has to be, meaning it's in the same star system, meaning it's just another planet in this solar system, because obviously you couldn't get there sublight if it wasn't.
No, I thought they were implying that somehow going at that speed would harm the eggs.
Well, yeah, but no, it's just about the transit. So yes, really? if they went to hyperspace, it would damage the eggs.
Right.
But the whole point is that having to travel at sublight means that it has to be literally in this star system.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So it's like rather than going from
far off. I dig it.
Yeah,
otherwise they would never get there. Right.
Yeah, they can't be going from Alpha Centauri to Alpha Proxima, But if they're just going from, Pluto to Jupiter, that's doable in sublight. Because if you can get to any significant portion of C, it's like, saying it's a day's journey, one light day is actually a lot. But if it's a very hot sun, you could have two.
So when they're going like full warp, they're only going speed of light fast? No. Right? They're like...
No. Well, because he says they're traveling sublight. When they go to hyperspeed, they're going faster than light.
Oh, okay.
And that's the thing, is like, if I have to do this at sublight, it's going to take, basically, literally, it means it's going to take, hours or days.
Yeah, no, because that's the thing, is sublight, it would take at least a couple of years to get to the next planet still, right? Or
No. I mean, you can get between, like, if you can go from Mercury to Pluto in like a day and a half.
So they're not, there's no planet that's like light years away from us?
Not in our solar system, no.
Well, how interesting. That's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, yeah, it's like at most you're just going, you might have to like go like sideways, because it's not like it's always a straight trip. In fact, it's almost never a straight trip, but like, you have to like...
Wait, okay, so Voyager just reached the edge of our solar system recently, like in the last year, right? And that was launched when? What year was that?
Oh, yeah, but that's like going at light speed. That's going at like basically...
Right. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around, sort of like give myself context to understand what we're talking about.
Voyager went up sometime in the 70s, I believe.
Okay, so it took it like what 50 years to get to the edge of the solar system, roughly?
Yeah, I think it might be less than that. It might have been like 30 years or 40 years, but because I think... Yeah, anyway, but yeah, getting to the edge of our solar system, it's a long way to go. But when you're traveling sublight, that's not so bad.
Even when they mean sublight, they're still going pretty damn fast.
Oh yeah, they're going like 50% the speed of light, 80% the speed of light.
Okay.
Basically, they're using their ability to travel in space much more. Basically, they can travel much faster. Because like if you're to go from Earth to the Moon with the tech we have now, it's going to take you, like I think they say not Earth to the Moon, Earth to Mars. It's going to take you like 6 months, and it is going to take you a long time to get to Pluto. But if you could go at like half the speed of light, it's only going to take you like like I said, and I don't like it's like 5 minutes from the Earth to the Sun. So you could get to Mercury in like 10 minutes.
Considering inertia, do you think your G-forces that are on you would ever sort of normalize if you just become like not a stationary, stationary moving object in space?
I mean, that's the idea, is that once you, and that's actually probably what takes the longest. That's why it says it's going to take forever to get there, because there's this acceleration and deceleration. Because you can't just jump to sublight speeds. We got to start out at 50 miles. We have to start out at 88 miles an hour and get ourselves up to that.
Yeah.
You got to go through all the levels first. So there's probably this long up ramp, and then when they get pulled over by the cops, that's a big delay. And it is this thing where because he doesn't, and that's the thing for him, because. For what it's worth, he's got warrants, That's his problem. He knows he's got warrants.
Yeah, I guess
if he cooperates
on the kindness of the next batch of space highwaymen that he runs into.
Yeah, exactly. This is the Space Highway Patrol and the patrolling the Outer Rim. Although to be fair, there's a quality in this which we're going to get into in the next episode, which is the secondary redemptive aspect for these guys. Because essentially what happens with these guys is they want Mando to go off his course. But Mando also doesn't want to say, I have a passenger for who I'm transitioning, because, well, who is this person? Why do they need to transition? What is their reason for going to this planet? Are they an invasive species? Which is actually one of the biggest questions I had with this. Because for those who haven't seen this episode yet or don't recall, essentially the plotline is this female. She's the last of her family line. She just laid her eggs. She has to get to where her husband is by the equinox so he can fertilize the eggs. He has, he went out into the stars to get themselves a grub stake out in the Wild West. And, she needs them to travel there. And unfortunately, Baby Yoda has a habit of eating her eggs.
Yep, we get Sith Baby Yoda.
Well, he's not a Sith. He's just eating eggs.
I know, but still, those could have been fertilized and made more people.
He doesn't know that, though. He doesn't know what they are. He's just a baby, and he doesn't understand what he's doing.
Yeah.
Well, technically, he is 50 years old.
I know, but I think he's. It takes them 50 years to be babies to become a Yoda that's that wise. It takes spending a long time in each stage of life to understand things at the level that a mature Yoda does. So they spend 50 years.
That doesn't make sense, though.
Huh?
Although to be fair, first off, sentient species get eaten all the time in this galaxy. There is nobody has a problem with eating other sentient species.
Every time he picked up a lizard on that other planet, nobody had a problem thinking it was the most adorable thing ever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and these aren't even living eggs. These are unfertilized eggs. So they're literally just, they're just pickled eggs. Yes, exactly. Yes. And she does lay more at one point. So you can take it for what it's worth. I
just kept thinking, does she not see that there's less of them in there? I felt she would have some innate sense of exactly the shape of the clusters or something. Something in the subconscious would set off, be like, that looks less than the other. You know what I mean? There would be something cool.
I get the feeling, and this is based on how this whole story plays out and what we see the final situation is. I get the feeling that this is because here's the thing: if you had a species that laid 50 eggs in a mating cycle, and all of them were viable, that species would become invasive and would be very dangerous. So I get the feeling that there is a high quantity of eggs laid expressly because a lot of them aren't going to make it. And I actually have a theory about that I'll go into when we get to next episode.
But that's just a theory.
Yes, it is just a theory. But let's just say I get the feeling that, there's a Highlander situation in those eggs. And we're going to deal with that next episode. But anyway, in this episode, he gets pulled over by the cops. The cops say, we want you to come back with us to some planet so we can run your tags, basically. And this bugs me because they're later going to say, well, we did run your tags, and that's going to be part of the resolution. But it's sort of like, oh, well, you could have run his tags right there. You could have said, we can see all this right now. But you want him to come back with you to the station before you run the tags. So you're intentionally misleading him about what you're doing.
Well, I mean, they thought, hey, maybe we can get more out of him, or maybe we could I don't know.
Yeah, no, I understand. Here's what I'm going to say. I understand their perspective because here's some random Razor Crest with some random Mandalorian driving in a neighborhood he's not supposed to be in. He's going way too slow for some reason. Why are you driving so slow in this neighborhood? What are you looking for? And he's not being forthcoming. But then you come into what is the basic problem of policing, which is, do we say that you have to answer every question a cop asks you? Or do you have a certain right to privacy and rights that where you can say, I'm not doing anything, why are you harassing me? And that gets into this basic conflict of policing that,
But is it policing or is it wartime security?
Well, it's not wartime security. The Empire has been destroyed. This is birth of the New Republic.
Aren't they fighting somebody too?
No, the First Order hasn't risen yet. This is basically when the New Republic is being established. Now, they have said that there are warlords and so there's crime bosses and warlords. The Hutts are having a field day right now.
So, Order hasn't been established yet, so can you hold them to those standards?
Well, I just wanted to say about the First Order thing. There are still, stormtroopers making the First Order, so I think some of them might have been, since the First Order was kind of like being built up for like multiple years. I think they are still looking for stormtroopers because the stormtroopers might. So maybe they might be thinking that he's going way too slow. He might be carrying something valuable that we need, that the Imperials might need too.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of reasons to be suspicious of him here. I'm not gonna say that they were not in their rights to stop him, but like I said, it comes to this basic conflict about what the Republic is supposed to stand for, which is freedom and not being under a police state, and the difficulties of living in this. This is one of the things where you basically get at the start of it, where, and at the start of the first season, in the first episode, where they say, you're telling me that after the Empire fell, things are better? All I see is a bunch of warlords and gangsters fighting over territory. And this is what they're dealing with. But the fact of the matter is, you can't deal with warlords and gangsters if you also want to have a free society.
To be honest, it's much more easier to take down a big like political thing than to make a new one.
This is true. That basically building a new republic is hard work, and if you're going to have a republic that's based on human rights and human values, you have to acknowledge and respect people's rights and values. And that's where it gets into this conflict, because this cop on the beat has a job to do. He has to track down, rogue Imperials, because we know there's lots of them. We just met Moff Gideon. We just know there's a whole Star Destroyer worth of these guys out there somewhere. They cut off the head, but the snake's still alive. So they've got this job to do, but at the same time, you also have this Mandalorian who has legitimate reasons why he's doing everything he's doing, but he also doesn't want to have to explain himself to these people because, A, he's got warrants, because he lives in a socioeconomic class that is looked down upon. There's a lot of people who don't like the Mandalorians. They're insular. They're different. They are bounty hunters, which, while a legitimate profession, is an unsavory profession to many. And so, there is this this is the inherent conflict in this episode. And that causes Mando to run. And Mando is our hero. So we are inclined to identify with him, while at the same time looking at his pursuers as possibly bad guys. But at the same time, we can also see their point. Why doesn't Mando just say, oh, I'm transporting this woman to this place because she needs to have her eggs fertilized? But then it's going to open up more questions. They have a timetable. They're traveling at sublight speeds.
I know, but that's kind of the life of a bounty hunter. That's why you make the bounty, because that's the kind of trouble you have to negotiate.
Well, exactly. And he was hoping he could talk his way out of that, and when he couldn't, he decides to run, because what are they going to do? If I run, I run. And for what it's worth, if he hadn't parked on bad ice, there wasn't global warming on the planet he decided to park on, he would have been fine. I don't think they actually say if that's Hoth or not, although apparently from the art, because they do, one of the best things about this episode is if you let the credits play, you're going to get a lot of artist concepts, and a lot of the artist concepts that we see in this are stuff that was from. So, for example, when we get to this ice planet, those spiders were actually supposed to be on Hoth. The ice spiders were supposed to be on Hoth in The Empire Strikes Back.
Hey, I told you that. Give me credit for that. I told you about that.
Well, actually, I saw it elsewhere, too.
Well, that is true. Well, also, apparently this place might be where they made Starkiller Base. Apparently this is that same ice planet. I've heard that this is where they made Starkiller Base.
I didn't think Starkiller Base was an ice planet, but okay.
It was a planet. It is a planet.
Okay. Well, I know it's a planet, but it doesn't mean that it's a nice planet. Anyway, oh, and by the way, here's that fun bit here. Because there's this whole... Because for those of you who don't recall, by the time this episode drops, there was a whole controversy about Baby Yoda eating the eggs. It's the last of his species. Is he committing genocide? Da, 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 da. Not the last of his species, just the last of her current family line. You know? And, you know, for what it's worth. But here, in this moment, he eats a spider egg. Nobody cares about the spider egg. Nobody cares about the little spider. The living spider he pulls out of its egg and eats.
Well, I mean, it is not the last of its kind, people. People are thinking that because they're confused about it being the last of their kind. Since we know that there are multiple eggs, also I think that was based off of Alien, like that scene.
Well, yes.
Also, people are, I guess, unintentionally hypocritical sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because if it's a cute monster, you're not so upset about it. Or you are more upset about the cute monster than the ugly monster that gets eaten. So, you know,
yeah, cute
why are you all
things
mad?
Don't deserve to die. Cute things don't deserve to participate in the circle of life.
Yeah, it is what it is. But anyway.
Sometimes cute things can be scary, like those Ewoks. They tried to eat Han Solo and everyone else.
Yes, they did.
Or Killer Bunny Rabbit in Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Or Chewbacca, who has eaten people and tears people's arms off on a regular basis. And ate the pork corks. Yes, I love the jacket, Mozz. That's the whole reason we have gone to video. People who aren't on video, man, you are missing stuff. By the way, a beautiful setup in your room. By the way, that's why I have this fake bookshelf behind me, and he has no. This is just my palatial home. Please join me as we discuss the things.
I think I'm going to get like a pipe and a brandy snifter next time.
Oh, you should. There's not brandy, apple juice.
Right, indeed.
Some delicious grape juice. Anyway, so essentially when the Razor Crest falls through the ice, it gets very severely damaged. And this is kind of a problem for me because it is a whole thing. Is like, how do we fix the damage? We're stuck on this thing. At the end, Baby Yoda eats the baby spider. The spiders start hatching and get real mad about their brother, and they all started getting attacked. We even see Frog Lady actually save Baby Yoda by killing one of the spiders as she steals a thing. Oh, also, Frog Lady is super intelligent because at one point that's why Zero was on there. Because she rewires the voice modulator for Zero's speech center so that she can speak with Zero's voice. Because, for what it's worth, interestingly enough, Mando kept Zero. Despite all of his, which is maybe even a statement that he kind of has evolved beyond his thinking that droids are bad, which we do know he thinks that even an evil droid, maybe he can at some point find a way to make peace with this. And interesting.
Or he was going to trade it to some Jawas for some cool new tech.
Oh yeah, that's also possible too. Hey, droid's a droid. But anyway, so yeah, and that's what she actually
salvage, right?
It's salvage. It's a masterless droid. That is salvage. But it was neat because then she does talk and she actually has that conversation with him for a moment where she does explain what's going on. And we also see her after they crash. She finds like there are thermal springs here, and she goes and hangs out in the thermal springs so that her eggs can sort of hang out. And we also kind of see that she lays a few more, if you count. Looks like she laid a few more.
Oh, I didn't catch that. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's something Tristan caught, that it looks like there were a lot more eggs floating in the pool.
I like that. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because, again, it's about her laying the eggs, you know, and maybe you need a certain kind of situation to lay eggs, and she didn't think she was going to get a situation like that until she got to the new planet. But fortunately, she could replace whatever eggs that Baby Yoda ate.
Right. And I think this was an important moment because when she saves Baby Yoda has a look on his face like, wow, that was like, he was so grateful. And in that moment, he understood something a little bit about those eggs. And I had hope for him. But then as soon as he gets back onto the ship, he has another. So I was like, maybe it wasn't that clear to him what was happening.
Well, and again, it's sort of the idea that, he understands the importance of the eggs, but one more won't hurt. They're so tasty. Have you had one of the Frog Lady's eggs?
Or maybe it's just, maybe he knew what he was doing. It's like a delicacy on his planet.
That's always a possibility. So anyway, they're being attacked by the spiders, and then our cops come back. Bad boys, what you gonna do? They come back, they do kill all of the spiders, and they basically explain to Mando, okay, we did run your tags, we know who you are, we know you've got this bounty against you, but we also know, we know you broke into the prison to break out this person, but we also know that you took all these actions that actually helped the Empire at the time.
And didn't he get the rest of them caught?
Yeah, he got all the rest of them caught.
Yeah, so that was a bunch of bounties that they were probably looking for that now they got to capture and close some cases.
And that's sort of the thing. It was as well, okay, based on that, I'll say I don't have the bounty. Can you help me fix my ship? And the cops leave him there. And that, to me, see, that's the problem that really bugged me on this. It's like, what, you can't help the guy, or you can't, tow him back, tow him to where he's going?
No, but as a keeper of the order, you can't be doing that. You can't be helping the quote unquote criminal get back on his feet. You can be nice enough. That's in my purview to give you that. Anything beyond that, then I'm debasing sort of my identity by saying I'm helping a criminal or whatever. I can give you this much leash, but that's all I can give you.
Yeah, I understand that. I just, what? I do know that the one time I had a really good interaction with a cop. I could not get the tire off my car. I had a flat, and I got the nuts off, but I couldn't get the tire off. And the cop just came, and he actually kicked the tire so that it came off. And it was like, oh, wow, you actually stopped to help me. You actually helped me, and I was able to fix my tire. And I just think that that's the kind of thing that cops should always do. Cops should always be looking for ways to help people. That's how you build that relationship in the community. Yep. You say, look, I do understand the situation. I know what you're going through. I know you're not up to any problems right now, and I can see you're in trouble. So let me use my place as a representative of authority to say, I'm going to build the bridge right now.
Right.
And that's the thing.
If they did that even half as much as their efforts to bleed us of our money to support their cause, then people would trust them.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's like, it's not that people don't want to trust cops. Everyone wants to trust cops. We would really like to always trust cops. We would really
just look at the way we think of other people in other eras and other forces they had to maintain the peace. Knights, samurai, yada, yada, whatever. All these sort of, we look at them as saviors of the people, and people look up to knights. They were like the gunslingers, whatever, the A-team, that sort of thing. That's the way we should be looking at cops. And that's the way everybody wants to look at cops, because if you look at firemen, they put themselves on the line for us. And everybody loves firemen. Everybody loves, soldiers and the troops and whatnot. So they should be afforded the same feelings and sentiments, but they absolve themselves of receiving that feeling by, being a money-making machine.
Exactly. It gets problematic, and that's the basic problem with the premise. But what it is, and this is the part that kind of bugs me, is he says, okay, so I'm going to seal up the cabin. We just all have to ride in the cabin, and then suddenly they can get the ship started. It was like, wait a minute. Is it really this? You just didn't want to have everyone in the cabin while you were flying for 4 hours? It's like, really, was that it, dude? He's like, no, man, I really don't need you all on top of me all the time.
Right.
I don't want to have to pee in a bucket in front of you all. So.
And maybe he just wanted to take his mask off for a second,
Oh, yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, man, just let me take the mask off just for a minute. Although he knows he can't because he's got freaking Baby Yoda there, and if he doesn't watch this kid constantly, he's going to eat all the eggs. And it's like, he is the dad on every road trip right now.
And what's sort of interesting is you bring up an interesting point about, how she's laying, 50 eggs for the hope of 1 or 2 or 3 hatching and that sort of thing. And even in nature, frogs will lay millions and millions of eggs because they're expecting predators to come and eat more than half of them away. They lay that many because it's part of the cycle, and it's meant to be there to feed other things in that circle of life. So we don't have the right, or I think it's a little arrogant perhaps even, for us to put an emotional context on something that is a strategy of nature. To not only produce more offspring for the parents, but also to feed other things in the food chain.
Exactly, and I think that's maybe.
And if Baby Yoda's hungry, then the universe put that there for him.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I can see the frog lady understanding that.
Yeah, because she's she understands that.
Yeah,
the circle of nature in that way.
Yeah, she knows what she knows her situation, and it may actually probably doesn't want to think, my God, if all of these eggs actually hatched, all of them became viable, and I had 50 kids on this new planet in the 1-room apartment that my husband has no doubt secured for us.
Right.
That is going to be horrible. I can reprogram droids, man. I have skills. I have a life outside of this. Anyway, so, but they lock it up and then they leave. And that's the end of this episode. Oh, you turned on your camera for some reason, Tristan? Okay. Anyways, okay. Anyway, final thoughts on tonight's episode, anyone?
I thought those creatures, the spiders, were super cool and super scary. And I read a lot of complaints that people had about this episode and the fact that it didn't serve the central narrative as much as people would have liked. I thought it was wonderful and brilliant. And honestly, I appreciate episodes like this that don't have to be a slave to the central narrative and can step aside and tell an interesting story about the daily life of these characters that has no bearing on anything except, just their daily routine and how crazy that can be. And I thought that was a fun little escape, and I really appreciated it for that.
My thoughts about this episode, well, there were a few things. One of them is don't watch if you have arachnophobia, because this is not the episode for you. Another thing is that wait, I forgot.
Okay. That's okay. I think that the overall arcing theme, this is one of these things where, yes, it's a bottle episode and it's a filler episode, but it's also a filler episode where things happen. And this to recognize that, not every adventure is going to be us building the story. Or maybe we're, so anyway,
there's building the story, but then there's also building the characters that are going to occupy that world.
Yeah, exactly. This is my favorite story.
Time to do that too. This was a character building episode.
Yeah, this is my favorite story. I like to tell this story all the time. About it's medieval times. They're building a cathedral. The cardinal comes to witness the building of the cathedral. He goes to the stonemasons. They say, "Well, what are you doing?" He said, "Well, we're moving these big stones. We're putting them on top of each other. We're putting them, moving these big stones and building this." So it's beautiful, beautiful work. Goes to the stained glass window makers. He says, "Oh, what are you guys doing?" So we're intricately cutting the glass. We're putting each one thing to make a beautiful image for the windows. It's a really important, really beautiful thing that we're cutting this glass that we're doing. And then it comes across this one woman who's just rubbing oil into a piece of wood. Just one little piece of wood, and she's just rubbing and rubbing and rubbing. And the cardinal says, "What are you doing, miss?" And she says, "Oh, I'm building a cathedral." And, you can look at it as like, oh, well, here's a big rock. And we know that the rock is part of the cathedral because that's building that cathedral that's going to be made of these rocks. We know that this glass is going there. But there are these little pieces of wood that are going to go into the pew, that is going to go into this cathedral, that may even go into the seat where the cardinal will sit. That is why it is literally called a cathedral. fun bit of Catholicism fact there. A cathedral means that it is a church that has a special chair for the cardinal. You're muted. Okay.
Well, anyway, for some reason now Star Wars has. Now we know that Star Wars does have a few other spider creatures. I think because there's also ones in Jedi Fallen Order. So now there are spider-like creatures. So I guess that means that there could be other bugs that we might have here, but different.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, we saw Dr. Mandible at the start of this, so clearly there are numerous insectoid species throughout this galaxy.
I wonder if there's like giant ice scorpions on that planet.
Maybe.
That'd be cool.
Spiders got to eat something.
Or maybe the spiders get eaten.
That is possible. They may be the basic priest.
Or like an ice mantis. Ooh.
Yeah, there's probably lots. That's the thing. It's like everything eats something. I mean, we don't even know that these spiders were going to eat them. We just know they were swarming them. They were like, no, we're going to pick all the nets off you, man. That's what we do. We pick nets off things.
I think when Baby Yoda ate that first spider, like, there's got to be some sort of hormone or pheromone that's released into the air that chemically sets off everything. And the mama spider was mad because, it wasn't their time yet, and you forced them to hatch. And now she's just like, how dare you come into my colony and disturb my brood? And now she's just mad, and she's like, get them, So it could simply be that. She's just defending her territory. They came in, crashed a party, ruined her brood, and then killed everybody.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that is true. That is usually... Like, speaking of...
If somebody came to your house, right, and then started, attacking all your pets, you'd be like, hey, buddy, come here, I got a thing or two to tell you, and then they killed everybody. Exactly. That's one way to look at it.
Yeah, it's kind of like, these animals are just trying to live. Like, you remember that time about,
they weren't bothering nobody.
Empire Strikes Back, that creature that took Luke, even though it was going to eat Luke, it's just trying to do what it needs to do to survive. When he cut off its arm, it didn't really need that, because how was it going to eat?
Yeah, and, Han Solo didn't think twice about cutting up that bantha to stick Luke inside. Just saying.
Was that bantha still alive?
He was about to die. But it was warm enough that it would keep him warm. And, it would warm enough to thaw out Luke, and then Luke's own body heat would keep him safe until they got home. Which also suggests that Han Solo actually dragged Luke and that bantha back to their base. So... that's pretty cool. So that's tonight's episode, kids. Hey, I don't know when you're listening to this. Maybe it is past Hanukkah. Maybe it's past Christmas, but there are 12 days. Maybe it's even past Kwanzaa. But, there are still birthdays coming. We have a gift guide in all of our show notes for the Southgate Media Group team here for both Capes and Lunatics and the Capes and Lunatics sidekicks. Check those out. See what kind of gifts your friends and family might like. Likewise, one gift that everyone likes is Tweaked Audio headphones, which if you go to tweakedaudio.com, use the coupon code Southgate, get high-quality audio equipment at a discount price using that coupon. Likewise, you can use that exact same coupon when you go over to hunterkiller.com. You're stuck at home. You want something to do. Use hunterkiller.com. It's you're going to help Michelle Gray solve a mystery. It's like a really advanced game of Clue.
3 ads in one?
I got lots of ads to do, man. How do you think we keep the show on the air? Help Michelle Gray out at hunterkiller.com. Use the coupon code Southgate to get a discount. And when you do that, or when you do anything at all, just go down afterwards, down to our show notes, find that link to Amazon. Go to Amazon, buy everything you need to buy, including maybe Pod Life the book. Costs you nothing, helps us out. Pod Life the book is a book written by the Southgate Media Group team. basically explains why we do this crazy thing called podcasting. You might enjoy it.
Wow, for ads.
Yes, I know.
Anyway, I actually have a question for Mozz. So, here are three, I have a question. So I'm going to give you three, stormtrooper ranks, and I want to see which one you would choose. Would you rather be a jet trooper, a pilot trooper, or a flame trooper? Out of all of those, which one would you rather be?
All right, so tell me the difference. Pardon my lack of understanding to this level, but what's the difference between a jet trooper and a pilot trooper?
Jet troopers fly now without the pilot troopers.
Like a jetpack. A jetpack.
Yeah, jetpack.
Absolutely, jet trooper. Without a doubt, jet trooper.
Yeah, I think that's pretty straightforward. You'd always want to be a jet trooper if it could be. It's the most fun. Yeah. Flying a TIE fighter, it's great, it's cool, but let's face it, we all wish we had jetpacks, even right now.
It's like the difference between driving a car and driving a motorcycle.
Exactly. Okay, Tristan, do you have any social media you want to give?
You could subscribe to Toxin Gamer 13. You could if you want to. I won't force you on anything you don't want to do.
Great. And, Mozz, how can people find you?
Oh, they can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
You kind of did what Charlie Usser does.
Yes, which we'll do right now. You do a double letter thing. And, of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way the way Mozz and Paz once did at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. Of course, follow me on the Twitter as I live tweet Monday nights at 7 p.m. DuckTales, a woohoo, the rebirth of the Disney Afternoon Universe. You should be there with me. It's a lot of fun. At Charlie Esser, that's CharlieEsser. Look for the two E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing.
Thank you, Mozz, and thank you, some Stormtrooper. All right, ladies and gentlemen, arg, avast me hearties. You have sailed another trip around the internet with us for this great streaming content. Please come back again next week as we once again sail full stream ahead. Arg.
I enjoyed this. This was fun.
Yes, it was, isn't it?
It's a lot of fun, guys.